I'll start. All right, here we go. Back. Week number 5. Man, I'm starting to get a little sad. Feels like the season's ending. You know, it's only week 5, but you already start getting like the Sunday scaries that football season's over. Happens earlier and earlier every year. But, you know, I'm already missing football. That's going to end soon.
Yeah.
And we're coming off another successful week. So it's actually our highest score yet.
Wow.
We got a 94. We came in 4th. And we're up to 2nd on the season total now. We're like 25 points back of 1st, but we're also like 25 points ahead of 3rd. So we're like a pretty good tier. So through 4 weeks now, though, we've came in 1st. Let's see, we're high every single week. 1st, 5th, 6th, and 4th. So pretty good. Doing solid. Hopefully we'll keep it going. There's starting to be separation, like I said, in the season-long standings now. So we'll say, how was your Sunday? Anything special?
Yeah, we were at Emma's cousin's house. They have DirecTV, so it was a bit of like a upstairs Steelers game, downstairs Bills game. And then I had Red Zone on my phone naturally.
Nice.
And I put a sizable enough wager, just at least, for the way I bet. So, sizable for me is like almost nothing for most people, but on the Bills, and then they went down big, and I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, I might as well just like put my money where my mouth is. So I doubled down on my initial wager at plus 560. So that was really nice. That was a really sweet payout. But yeah, I don't know. It was a great Sunday all around. Fantasy is not looking the best in my personal leagues, but obviously the dynasty squad just keeps me going.
It's the best.
Yeah, so it's you alluded to it before. It's definitely kind of starting to set in. It's like, oh man, like we got, we still have way more than like 2/3 of this to go. But it's kind of scary,
Yeah, it's already October. It
starts to get cold, and I'm like, oh, okay, yep. Now it feels like real football weather, but with real football weather comes the fact that we're getting 1 week closer to the end. But that's a horrible way to think about things, so we won't talk about that.
Yeah. It was a fun Sunday. I will say my only disappointment was, I mean, obviously there's worse things that happened, but the weather really kind of screwed a lot of these games that should have been pretty awesome on Sunday. Even that Jags, Eagles, and Bills, Ravens, I think, like combined, their over-unders dropped like 10. So I think it was around 5 points each they dropped.
Right.
And they both turned into like kind of ugly games, even though the point total was a little bit high.
Yep.
Neither was really entertaining for like the quality of teams they are.
Of course.
But nevertheless, we'll keep the momentum going rather than slowest. My only concern, I will say this too. So they said week 5 or week 4 just now was the best week for the public in terms of winnings versus Vegas so far. So I saw that and I'm like, gosh, maybe we got to switch it up.
Yeah.
And we saw it in the pool too. This is the highest score by far. So
yeah, the more I looked at that last week's slate, I kind of realized I just loved a lot of the games. And I had, again, on a personal note, I had just like it was like a pretty crazy teaser, but those never hit. And if it's not for that last minute Jets drive, I hit that teaser with like 6 or 7 legs in it. So, it was, again, teasers, you can play it safe with them, but still, like, the fact that I was even within striking distance of one of those kind of says a lot about the fact that, it was kind of chalky in terms of, the picks where everyone had their money. So,
yeah. And even looking at what we got wrong last week, so we got Green Bay, which we had for 1 wrong. Washington, we had that for 2. Jacksonville, we had that for 3. So we're fine. Pittsburgh, I mean, I'll put that 14 every day. Like I think we both had Miami high against the Jets again this week.
Yeah.
Buffalo, which could have been the weather. And then Miami, which like I was going to text you. I was reading these stats all day last Thursday. Like teams to be coming off a 90 play defensive performance. And like we talked about that last week, how Miami ran no plays on offense. Their defense was just on there the whole time.
Right.
And I was like, whatever. I'm not giving the Bengals any credit. I want to keep going against them. And then, whatever. Tua gets hurt. Who knows what would have happened otherwise. But
exactly.
And we got like, I don't know. The ones we got wrong, we're like comfortable with. I don't think we like missed.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was just, you mentioned, I mean, the Bills when we lost, but it was what, half a point? They won by 3. We got it at 3.5 maybe. So that's just silly. Jets, I don't think anyone had that. We were just more confident, and rightly so. Miami points you just mentioned. What was the last one? Was there 1 more or 2 more?
The other ones were all small. It was our 3, 2, and 1, so it didn't even matter.
Okay. Yeah. So no big deal.
Yeah, the stupidest thing from last week though, in terms of the ratio, I feel like there hasn't been a bad one in a couple of weeks, but 13 out of 17 people taking the Rams, including people had the Rams for 15, 15, 15, 16, 7, 7. Like, come on, man. Like, I mean,
That's
they look like two
upsetting.
different qualities of team. I mean, San Fran is, we forget, like, just because everyone focuses on the offense, but just like team talent in general, how fast they are.
Oh yeah.
And it's like not really big names on the defense other than Bosa, but they play. It's still, I love watching how quick they play too. It's interesting. It gets taken for granted because you think of coaching and you think of offensive
course.
skill position, but
Yeah, but
they're
no,
one of
once
the fastest
again,
teams.
we said it. Shanahan owns McVay, at least in the
Yeah.
regular season. So played into our hands, played in our favor.
Yeah, and this the last part of the recap, but I was entering the Sunday night football game where actually it was the lowest we've been. We were like 14th or 11th.
And then it all changed.
Oh, we had 15 and 16 as our hammer.
Yeah,
So we came
yeah.
in. And he's in our dynasty league. Tarek was actually, he was like tied for first kind of
Mhm.
entering Monday Night Football. And he was trying to do what we did. Like,
Yeah.
do I think they're going to take the Rams or the Niners? But he was like, so I think it was the top 3 were all separated by like 1 point, and he was the third. And unfortunately, one guy took the Rams, the other guys took the Niners, so he's kind of blocked out. Anyway.
Yeah.
So he took the Niners, but he just couldn't catch the game.
Right.
But it was funny. I was like, you all talk shit about it when I did it a couple weeks ago. And he's like, I don't know. He's trying to block that. But anyway, we'll get started. First game, Thursday night football, Indianapolis Colts at the Denver Broncos. We both like this a lot. I got it for 15. You got it for 16. I mean, I don't like the Broncos, but I mean, I think they're a capable football team. The Colts look like an abject disaster. Taylor's not playing either.
Yeah.
You know, as much as obviously Matt Ryan's like, I think you can say looking washed, but I don't think this roster or coaching staff seems to be doing him any favors. Somehow got a downgrade in roster and quarterback moving from Atlanta to Indy.
Right.
But I just think we hate the Broncos because they're thought of as a playoff team, not because they're a bad team. Whereas the Colts are a bad team, and Denver is somehow only giving 3 points at home on Thursday on a short week. I don't get it. So.
Right. I know. Yeah. I don't have much else to add, but has the line moved since Taylor's ruled out today?
And actually, so we're getting it at 3.5, and it's down to 3 for Denver.
Get out.
So it's weird. I mean, like that's a big half point. So
interesting. Well, no, regardless, for all the reasons you just mentioned, there's just no way they can't be first overall.
Yeah,
so we can
weird line for me. Next up, Giants at the Packers. Packers right now it's -8 with 68% of the cash on the Packers. I got Green Bay for 5. You got the Giants for 4. So I didn't get the chance to look at this today. We both have a pretty low confidence anyway. Yeah. But does it seem like Jones is going to be healthy for this, or what's the
situation? He was seen in practice today, I think it was. But I don't know what that means in terms of whether or not he plays today. But I mean, that's at least I don't know. Is that encouraging? Who knows? But no Tyrod though, no matter what, because he's concussed. So I mean, like that's kind of the big sticking point. It's either Jones or I don't even want to talk about third string quarterback options. But yeah, so I mean, I just think regardless, like I would have gotten Packers here and I probably would have been more confident about it. But that game was so weird against the Pats. Like you're telling me that Bailey Zappi is going to keep it close against which is considered by many as like one of the best defenses in all of football. Like that's just kind of silly to me. And once again, their offense just didn't look like it really. I don't know. I mean, I realize they don't have very much going on, but they couldn't make anything work for the majority of that game. Who was it? Was it Watson who dropped that touchdown pass, or was it Dobbs or Dobbs?
Regardless, yeah, I think Dobbs did drop one.
Yeah. Regardless, I thought they should have run away with that game as the spread suggested. So I think we picked Green Bay last week. Wasn't for very much.
Our lowest confidence.
Yeah, but let's just. Personally, I wouldn't make the same mistake picking them in another relatively high spread game against a team who I don't know if they're better than the Pats, but they're definitely friskier, for lack of a better word.
No, I mean, Giants 3-1, also kind of crazy just to say out loud.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But if Jones is fully healthy, like I don't think the Packers should be giving more than a touchdown to anyone.
Yeah.
Never mind. Like I don't think the Giants are a top 20 team, but still they're not the worst teams in the league. So I'm fine. And then it's for 2. I got Giants for right now, so it doesn't really matter. But
yeah.
if they're running Wildcat Saquon, I mean, but the thing is, like, that Green Bay offense is so like the problem with like just as much as not scoring points, obviously having a bad offense is, but you just give the other team so many more
Oh
opportunities.
yeah, of course.
Points, right? It's like it's not thought about a lot, and it's the same way on defense. Like some of those Falcons team with Matt Ryan, the problem wasn't that the defense was giving up 30 points. It was that the defense was giving him, 7 drives a game,
Right.
something like that. So it's hard. I feel like the Packers got that going on. Next up, we got Texans at the Jaguars. Currently, Jags -7. With 52% of the cash on Houston. We are getting it for 7.5. It's weird. I think there's 4 spreads this week of the home teams being like 7 or 8 point favorites.
Right.
So it's a little weird. We both got it. I got Jacks for 6. You got Jacks for 7. It's weird. I feel like Houston, that game, no one watched it because it was a blowout right away, but they actually kind of clawed their way back in. It was 27-24 and they had the ball like pretty late in the game. PFF actually, they usually don't care about sides, but they actually like Houston here on the spread. I don't know. I still think Jacksonville, who knows about the weather? And I think Philly, like they could have just played the best team in the NFL. So I'm not going to detriment them. This could be a game where they get 2 pick sixes and Lawrence throws for 200 yards and they still win by 20. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. It's going to be the case where, again, it's always possible that they come back with some sort of garbage time score. Maybe it's Pierce, maybe it's, I don't know, Cooks, but that offense just does not seem to be clicking. And even as you said, they were clawing back. Like I do trust Jacksonville enough just to kind of continue to put the pedal on the metal. I think they kind of have a point to prove. So I don't think this will really be close.
Yeah. Next up, Titans at the Commanders. This is a weird one. So we got a big disagreement, pretty rare. Also, but I'm looking at this is one of the lowest researches I did for the spreads, but so it's Washington plus 2.5 right now. 90% of the cash is on Tennessee. And even despite that, the analytics are saying Tennessee's the value anyway against the spread. I don't know. I kind of took this at a basic level where like I don't think either of these teams are anything other than like the C- tier, C flat tier.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I'll take the team at home getting points. But I don't know. I didn't realize Tennessee would be such a favorite here. I guess people are, and I think Wentz burned me. I feel burned still week 1 for beating Jacksonville because I think we've picked them every other week. But
yeah,
I don't know. A little surprising. What made you take Tennessee?
I don't know. I had a very good feeling about them last week, and it ultimately paid off, at least with personal bets. But I don't know. I like Vrabel, and I kind of have that weird feeling that despite them not having a particularly great roster, they're just going to continue to find a way to win games that they should be winning, if that makes sense. Like they're still probably going to get blown out by the bigger guys, the Chiefs, the Bills, even, Ravens, let's say. But I still think they're just going to find a way to kind of separate themselves from this bottom-ish tier. So I do agree that both these teams are probably still at that C- level. But if you look at the way both these teams are trending, I think Tennessee's probably trending in one direction, whereas the Commanders are trending elsewhere. I trust Henry. I trust the coaching staff. And I just really don't think I can trust Wentz much longer. I just think they're a pretty solid team. Not good at all, as I said, and as you have mentioned, but I just really don't like Washington. I've seen pretty much nothing from them to make me feel otherwise.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe I'm anchoring because we took Tennessee week 1 too against the Giants after I said like just because you don't think this team is good doesn't mean they're worse than the Giants. But yeah, I don't know. I think the reason I'm just so shocked this many people are on the Titans. I think the only thing I can picture in my head is that whether Washington wins or lose, they're going to do it messy. Whereas Tennessee, it's more of a clean run of stuff. It's easier to bet on a team, kind of who's going to show up.
Yeah.
So I got Tennessee down. I moved it down a bit though. We'll say it's an interesting one, surprisingly.
For sure.
Next up, Bears at the Vikings. Another one of those 7-point home favorites. 87% of the cash is on Minnesota. We are getting it at 7.5. And we both got it in the pretty similar range too. I got for 3, you got for 5. Minnesota, it's weird. I feel like, I don't know. We were saying this about, I think the Chargers a couple weeks ago, but I feel like we haven't seen the explosion since that week 1.
Yeah. So. And that's, the reason I have Minnesota, again, I don't love picking bigger spreads for teams that I don't feel great about. I felt way better about them earlier in the season than I do now. But to the point you just mentioned, they got to explode at some point, right? I don't know. So we'll see. But I still feel good about them just because, again, if this is the explosion game, then they're going to win by like 28 points. And this will be the easiest pick we've made maybe all year. I just don't think Chicago has anything to even contend with these guys on offense.
Yeah. The amount of sacks Fields is giving up and turnovers, like they could win this game 16-7 with the defensive touchdown and cover the
Right.
Vikings.
Right.
I feel like there's a lot of outs in ways they can win. It's a tough watch right now, the Bears. I don't know. I guess, I think I don't know who would be second, but I think Fields is pretty far and away the worst quarterback in the league right now.
Yeah, it's a shame.
It's crazy. But Vikings good win last week too versus the Saints. Weird. I saw an interesting tweet. It was because if the backup comes in, Vegas is gonna adjust the spreads, obviously.
Right.
I wonder, and I didn't really see a follow-up, so I don't know what it was, how they were accounting for Winston versus Dalton in terms of versus the Vikings last week. I wonder what the point difference. I mean, maybe I don't know what it would be, because I think like even the top guys are, I don't know, maybe it's not lower than you would think, but I still think they're only like a touchdown and a half, like 7.5 or something.
No, yeah, for sure.
So maybe Dalton and Winston's only like a point and a half, but it's funny. This was, I think, the highest consolidated game last week. It was no, the spread didn't end up moving that much. I think it moved from 2.5 to 3.5 or 4, but 15 out of 16 people took Vikings in the pool, and I had them for 11, and I was the lowest on them.
Wow.
Yeah, 16 out of 17 took the Vikings. So like I was rooting for the Vikings, but like I was losing points if they won. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Since even though I had them for 11. But yeah, I'm good with them here. Bears are just not betting on them right now. Next up, Dolphins at the Jets. I mean, geez, like
I don't think
lucky way to win a game. I mean, as the same thing I just said about the Bears. I think the Jets are right there. I think these are the two worst quarterbacks in the league right now. And I mean, it's great. It's weird. You think by now Jets fans would be like, well, I guess Knicks fans aren't like it either, but kind of defeated. You expect the worst until you're proven otherwise. But I see tweets saying Zach Wilson played a great game just because he had that one last drive, and it's I didn't think it looked pretty, but he got the stats on that last drive and got the win. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of similar to what I was saying earlier. Pittsburgh gave him a lot of chances to move the ball in general, with the way their offense even looked. So this could be another interesting one. Backup versus starter, point spread movement, Tua versus Teddy. But only 3 points, Dolphins versus Jets. I don't get this. This could
I have nothing more to add there. This feels like the best value that we could probably find, other than maybe Denver.
Yeah.
Or a team we'll probably get to in a little bit. A team we love.
And next up, and by the way, 86% of the cash is on the Dolphins, and PFF still likes them.
Yeah, this is just going to come down to one more thing. This is going to be one of those games, much like you mentioned with the Vikings last week. Like, it's not a matter of who you have in this one; it's just where you have them ranked. So we should probably, try to be on the right side of history here and get them as high as possible, because, otherwise we'll be in the same spot you were last week.
Yeah, and that's why I felt good. I'm trying to say, because a lot of people, so 13 out of 17 took Green Bay, but since we only had them for one, it
it really helped.
Matter, we were basically on the
rooting
Patriots
for
at that
the loss.
Yeah. So that worked out. It was nice. Next up, the undefeated America's team, Atlanta Falcons, possibly the third best team in the NFC, the fourth best team in the NFC. It's hard to say right now. No one else seems to be wanting to play good football in the NFC other than the Eagles and maybe the Niners. So why can't it be the Falcons? But here we go. Tampa Bay, currently -9, 69% of the cash on Atlanta. Tampa Bay is home. And they kind of got blown out, but I think they showed signs of life. Godwin is back. But it's weird. I texted you. I thought Atlanta got a lot of respect last week, only getting a point versus Cleveland, who, I don't think they're going to blow the doors off anyone, but they're pretty respectful. And now Vegas comes back after the Falcons win another game and says, "No, let's make you near double-digit spreads against a Bucs team that has not shown any signs of life on offense this year."
No. No. Again, not much else to add there. It's just you take the points. I think that in any sort of betting scenario, when it's kind of 50-50, you take the points, but this doesn't feel like a 50-50 to me whatsoever, because the Falcons are going to move the ball. And this Bucs defense has also just been kind of, I don't know. Everything about them has just been weird, right? I feel like they're just so known for kind of smash mouth defense under Bowles. Run defense is still good, but that's not really going to be too much of an issue for the Falcons, especially with no Cordero. How long is he out for, by the way? Just as
They said it's going to be quick, so I think he should
All
be
right.
back after the 4-week mandatory
IR
IR.
stint. Yeah.
But-
Okay. Well, regardless, though, I mean, run defense won't be much of a problem because they'll just be airing it out. Yeah, Bucks situation continues to get weirder rather than more normal. Obviously, they're starting to get more of the pieces back, as you mentioned. Godwin's coming back, but now Giselle's hiring a divorce attorney, lawyer, whatever the case is. So Brady, I don't know. I
even more distracted.
Let's just say this: if the Falcons win outright, do you think Brady just is like, you know what, I'm done. I've had it.
Yeah,
not to know, no, not trying to disgrace the Falcons name whatsoever or anything, but I mean, goodness sakes, like at a certain point, it's like, dude, just hang them up already. Like this isn't worth it. So, complete tangent, but no, we're always gonna ride the Falcons here.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, on the Bucks, real quick, it is weird. 'Cause it's like we've been saying this, but they're an NBA team waiting for January. But I don't think I don't think football is like that where you can just turn it on switch.
No, of course not.
But yeah, with the Falcons, I mean, everyone complaining on Twitter this week is ridiculous. Get Kyle Pitts the ball. Why aren't they throwing the ball? I mean, they're not throwing the ball for a reason. You see what Marcus Mariota did. I mean, whether you want to play Desmond Ridder or not, that's Arthur Smith call. I still think Mariota's, for what they're running, actually is pretty efficient. Interesting stat on Mariota. 12 yards is his average depth of target right now. Absolutely insane. So, I mean, and he's missing some layups down the field too. For like reference, last year Mahomes was at 7. I mean, like, you don't think of it this way, but they're running such a cool offense. I mean, it's ground and pound, but like when they're throwing it, it's like Bruce Arians meets Kyle Shanahan, right? It's like they're slinging it down the field. And now you got the one thing I saw what the Athletic compared them to today was the film that gets 42% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it wins the Academy Award. And I feel like that's what it is. I mean, yeah, it sucks like your best players aren't getting involved, but and I think a lot of people want to compare it to how even us, like obviously us, complain about how Zach Taylor doesn't get the Bengals guys the ball. But the difference is Zach Taylor doesn't get them the ball and instead gives it to Joe Mixon, who gets 1 yard as he runs into his lineman's backers. The Falcons, even if they try to get them the ball, London and Pitts, like it might not be successful. And guess what? Like, why even bother when you can run 14 straight times for like 6 yards a clip? Like it's insane the way they're moving right now. Peter Schrager calling them this year's Bengals.
Dude,
I mean, it's getting a little much, but I mean, if they win this game, I mean, it's like I said, no one obviously would like the Niners, no one else does, but no one other than the Eagles has really stepped up and said, like, this is our year in the NFC, right? So they win this, why couldn't it be them?
Yeah, why not?
It's fun to see. Hyped if they win this game, it's gonna be it's gonna be a turning point. Maybe Arthur Smith will get some credit. They win this game from just the general public. The football heads like him, the fantasy heads, more casual don't like it yet. But I think what he's doing with this roster is still just it's awesome right now. I love watching it. Next up, Lions at the Pats. Patriots currently -3, 79% of the cash home. Did you see anything on if Mac's playing? I didn't see that yet.
No, I feel like I saw a tweet, maybe Rappaport. Yeah, I think it was Rappaport. He was something like, "This is a good sign," and it was like Mac throwing a football with a helmet on. So maybe, I don't know. I
limited today is what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
I saw this line, and like I'm the biggest Lions hater, and I mean the way they played last week for good reason. 52 points to Geno Smith or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. Maybe I got to watch closer, but I got to stop hearing people talk about this offense. This offense is only good because they run a ton of plays and they get down big. Like when it comes down to it, I don't think they're an efficient team that can sustain like first and second quarter success against a competitive team when it's a close game.
No,
so,
of course not.
It's weird that, I mean, if Zappy or Hoyer is going to start, the Pats being 3-point favorites, it was a weird line to me. That's why I had it so low. What about you?
Yeah, no, I have it second least confident. I just don't.
Okay, I see it. Yeah,
I don't understand. Like, it's just, it feels like such a trap. Like Detroit getting points with the potential of either of those guys starting. Maybe they know something we don't know about Mac. But yeah, just such a strange line. It also is just kind of funny because it seems like the Lions basically lose every game by like 3 points now, even if it is back and forth the entire time. They just find a way to make it a 3-point game. So maybe by that logic, you just take the +3.5 and they'll lose by 3 exactly. But no, they're just such a weird team. As you mentioned, the reason their offense looks good is because they just have a million chances to go out and do stuff. They're a perfect team if you have guys in there for a fantasy perspective, I mean, I played against Hawkinson last week. Like, come on, like what? Why does he have 34 points? Like that's just absurd.
Yeah.
And whoever plays against him is probably fantasy viable as well, just because it's going to be so back and forth. But now I don't think that, at least now for the next little while, will we be able to judge any of their games confidently because it's just so random, so high scoring, and at the end of the day, probably just a coin flip. So we'll take the points, but don't feel good.
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. I have it solo just because it's also like Detroit's usually the team. I'm like, how is that the line? Come on, it's the line.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, like, if I'm gonna think they're favorable, I'm just putting it as the bottom because like
Yep.
I know everyone else is gonna be wanting to bet on the Lions.
For sure.
I'll let them decide this game for me. Next
Yep.
up, Seahawks at the Saints. Seahawks, impressive performance. I mean, Gino's rising up the ranks. He's been looking good, even though he's been playing some bad defenses. I don't know. He's not as atrocious as you would think. It's kind of what I was saying about Mariota before the start of the season, where at least he's a pro. He's not like you could see what Fields and Wilson do to their teams. So 87% of the cash is currently on the Seahawks. New Orleans giving 5.5 at home. Let's see. I don't even see where I had this. Okay, I had this pretty high. You did too. Seahawks for 13, getting 5.5. I don't think the Saints are explosive enough right now. And even if I don't fully believe in what the Seahawks have been doing on offense, I don't know if Andy Dalton can really. I think the Seahawks are a good bet to put up 20 to 24 every week.
Yeah.
And if they're going to be getting nearly a touchdown against a team that is unexplosive, I think that's fine.
Yep. Nope. Works with me. Like where we have it.
Yep. Also, Rashad Penny. What a performance. It's
Oh my
weird.
gosh.
Walker looks so good too, but it's funny because Penny is just like, he's definitely, it's weird because he is kind of old now, but he's a good talent too. Almost like
Yeah.
Cordero with like a revival.
Mhm.
Next up, biggest spread of the week. I keep seeing like tweets about this and I can't tell if they're memes or not, if this is like the biggest spread the Steelers have ever faced or things, but
Huh.
nevertheless, Buffalo giving, let's see, it's currently 14. We got it for 13.5 home against Pittsburgh, who they lost to last year.
Mhm.
60% of the cash is on Pittsburgh. We differ and we both got in a similar spot. You think Buffalo just runs them out of the water here?
I think so. I think their last two games have just been really weird. Again, I tend to not let weather be too much of a factor, and I'm not gonna even look at the weather report this week. But week 3 against Miami, super hot. Josh Allen couldn't connect with any of his receivers. They're all cramping up. It was pretty brutal. And then last week, it's a monsoon. It seemed like in Baltimore, and despite that, they still found a way to come back. But I think that they were kind of discombobulated in the first half of the Ravens game, kind of discombobulated the entire Dolphins game. I think this is going to be a kind of a get right spot for them. I understand your point about Philly beating them week 1 last year, but look what they did to the Bengals this year as well. They kind of come out week 1 with like a super specific team game plan. It's like, all right, we've had, months and months to prepare for this one specific team. And then once that game plan's gone, it becomes a lot more difficult to adapt and create a plan in 1 week. I mean, the fact that the Jets beat the Steelers doesn't give me much confidence. I do think Pickett is going to be somewhat decent. I mean, he's going to have to be better than Mitch. I don't even know if he's starting. Probably is. I haven't seen anything to determine.
Yeah, I think they said he will. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, and again, I like to see that. Let the rookie go for it. But I mean, he's going to make a ton of mistakes against his Bills secondary, which, while quite beat up, is still one of the better sets in the league. And yeah, it's the point you mentioned from the very start. I mean, I don't think the Steelers are going to move the ball at all. And I mean, I could see this being one of those Bills games where it's like the Bills only punted once, and it was after they were up 46-3. And so that's what I see. I find it hard to believe that the Bills are going to struggle to cover this one.
Yeah, it's interesting because we've been like waiting. I think the closest spread so far has been that Rams Falcons game week 2, but we've been waiting for these big spreads. And Pittsburgh is a team that you can see Buffalo running it up. And one thing too, I'm good with Buffalo here. They played Baltimore last week, and I think they have KC next week. So if there's ever a time for a letdown spot,
yeah,
it is this. But they're home and they haven't exploded in a while, so I think they want to.
Yeah, it'll call this I mean, I don't know who would aggregate this, but don't aggregate this. But call this a nice tune-up spot for the Chiefs game. But
yeah, and I think get Gabe Davis a touchdown.
Yeah, I realize he has been a little hurt, but God, that's like the one spot where I've been a little sad about our fantasy team. But
Yeah, we'll talk about it later. I'm not too concerned. I think he is what he
No,
is.
no,
I'm not
he's fine.
surprised.
That's fine. Mike Williams light, but yeah.
Next up, Chargers at the Browns. Cleveland 2.5-point dogs with 81% of the cash on them. We both got this. Let's see. I got it for 4 for Cleveland, and you got it for 3 for Cleveland. Okay, so there we go. Pretty in line. Yeah, I just think I don't trust the Chargers at all. I heard maybe it was Simmons, but maybe it was the Athletic just talking about it's weird because at first all the analytics guys love Staley and all the films guys hate him. And slowly, like just everyone's hating Staley.
Yeah.
Because it's just for the talent of this team, they're just, and it's not all Staley. I mean, their offensive coordinator is just as bad. But for the talent of this team, they lose weird games. But are always competitive against good teams just because of their talent. And this is a team where Cleveland, I think, it's the smooth run ship right now. They played a good game against the Falcons. They were stopped on 4th and short a couple close times, couple weird turnovers at the end of games. They could have scored 2 more touchdowns versus the Falcons. So I think they were better than that score indicated last week, and I think they can just run all over the Chargers here.
Yep. Nope. I have nothing else to add.
Next up, 49 are San Francisco 49ers. Them and the Falcons are our teams this year. It's currently 6.5 for Carolina. 77% of the cash is on San Fran. This could be like Matt Rule gets fired after the game. I don't know. As it man, and I can tell we don't think highly of Arizona based on where we have the Eagles ranks coming up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a game you got to at least stay competitive in if you're the Panthers. You can't be in garbage time in the 3rd quarter against the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals might be a bottom 10 team. Baker looks atrocious. Maybe he's in the Fields and Wilson category. And like this isn't a game where like almost like how they played against the Rams, which is weird to say because you're comparing the Rams and the Panthers, but they cannot play a clean game and still win 23-9 or whatever, 23-7 like they did the other day. So as usual, I'm good with San Fran high.
Yep. Nope. Totally agree. Just again, we kind of got some of the pillars of betting, but I just think that despite some of their question marks, injuries, etc., just a way better coach team, way better skill guys throughout. And just got, again, it's also big, like, how do you picture this game going? I just picture like 50 batted balls thrown by Baker, maybe a strip sack, Debo running all over him, DJ Moore not getting the ball. So yeah, I feel very good about San Fran.
Over unders 39 points.
That's Get out.
That's kind of crazy.
No, I mean, that's basically like saying that they don't think the Panthers are going to score more than like,
right,
10 13 max. Yeah, right. Like,
yeah, I wonder. So, what's the implied team total if they're getting 7 points? What is it, like 23 to 16? Yeah, 23-16 is the implied totals. Interesting. The problem is at both these teams, I do feel like kind of just want to pack the ball up and go home anytime they have the ball. Yeah. So it does slow it down, but weird. That is really low. I just think this is probably a slowdown game for both teams. Next up, Eagles at the Cardinals. Cardinals currently getting 5.5. 79% of the cash is on the Eagles. I mean, congrats on the Cardinals for getting a win. Like I said, I think when we mentioned the Chiefs and Cardinals week 1, we said there's going to be ups and downs, but at the end, they're going to be like both teams are going to be pretty unimpressive, maybe like 9-8, 10-7. And the Chiefs, just because they have Mahomes, look a little bit better than that. But weirdly enough, the Cardinals probably are going to be, for as much as everyone hates them, an unimpressive 8-9 or 9-8. Just might not be a team that blows up completely. But despite that, this is a spot where the Eagles come in after kind of a sloppy performance last week and just go nuts.
Yeah, no, that's, again, nothing else to say. Better team, better all around. It's going to be a lot of Kyler running around. Most likely not, you say for better, for worse, definitely for worse. And I just like Philly on all sides of the ball. Ton of ways to get you. Feels good where we have it. Was that 11th, 10th? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty high. Next up, Cowboys and Cooper Rush. We keep betting against them, but I don't know. Is there a QB controversy in Dallas? They're getting 5.5 points at the Rams. 62% of the cash on Dallas.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to see where I have them here. So I have the Rams here. I don't know. It's just, this feels like a trap. -4.5. Like, do you agree that just feels like such a trap line? Like it's like they're teasing us to take it, but I don't know. I have very little opinion. I have it low. I don't know where to go with this. I see you have it at 8. Dude, it's just,
Yeah.
I say it all the time, but I just, the Rams line looks pretty brutal. And I know I tend to go back to this, but that's just how my brain works. Micah Parsons just getting at Stafford, like, just, I don't know, making his life uncomfortable, like maybe 6 different times. What does that result in? Who knows? I mean, he's always due for a few picks here and there. Again, maybe a strip sack game, but just so weird. Both of these teams are kind of like, don't have much of an opinion on. So I will let you decide.
Yeah,
where to put
I'm
this.
not
I
too
have
confident
no
either.
idea.
Because I don't like the Rams that much, but it's weird because I think everyone views Dallas before the year as like a better quarterback and receiver than a roster, but they're kind of proving to be the opposite.
Yeah.
So it's weird. I'm good. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll put Dallas in for low to get a dog.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I'm feeling Dallas. I feel like
Um,
the sharp money's going to be on them again, much like they were against Cincy. I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I like it. Is there a QB controversy when Dak comes back? This is at some point it's impressive what he's doing.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, why wouldn't there be? Like, Dak, even when he was healthy, didn't look very good. That Sunday night game, was it Sunday night against the Bucks, just etched in my brain forever. It's like, that was just, I mean, oh my gosh, horrible to watch. I'd welcome it.
Yeah, Ewing theory committee. So that's what's there.
Locked in.
Okay. Now that does it for part 1. We'll come back to part 2. We got 2 games left. Bengals at Ravens and Raiders at Chiefs. 2 good ones. We'll see you then.